Well, hello everybody. I'm John Cogley and here to go over questions and answers. Glad you could join today. By all means, as we go through, ask your questions. I will try to read them and get back to you. Hello, Scott. Otherwise, I will post your answer to you when I read the feed later on tonight. Yesterday at 2 o'clock, we went over some information I'm going to reshare with you. And then I'm going to show you our oils. We have two oil color lines, and I'll be looking at both of those with you. Hello, Tarun. So, some of the questions that were asked last Friday that I thought were, they were all good, but that I wanted to share with you, were one by Lalitha, and I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. And it was, why are almost all browns developed from PBR7? P is for pigment, BR is for brown, and 7 is the number. Pigment brown number 7. And the reason that is when they were deciding what pigment goes into what group, it was made that all umbers, siennas, burnt siennas, all went into PBR7. That's why there's so many colors within that particular color scheme. So great question. Another one was, do water-soluble oils dry faster than traditional oils? And they do. And we're going to go over that today. Somebody asked, did we make powdered paints? At one time, we did make powdered watercolor paints. They were metallic in nature. And luminescent or iridescent Primatex. The luminescent Primatex, i.e. ones that have mica, are the two fuchsites, red fuchsite, green fuchsite. Hello, Angela. The lapis and the bronzite and burnt bronzite, because they all have mica or other metals in them which give that luminescent context to them. Oh, so Madalena still has some of the metallic. Yeah, it lasts for forever. So we're going to go over, I want to show you walnut ink, because we talked about walnut ink 2 weeks ago. And I wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. So walnut ink is actually made from walnut husks, and those are boiled. And then when they're boiled, they're processed down to what looks like very fine granules, very fine black granules. So very, very pretty stuff. And then I always get the question about French ultramarine. So this is French ultramarine. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And this is ultramarine. Again, same pigment, PB29. The ultramarine is slightly smaller, moves toward the cool or the green. French ultramarine, slightly warmer, moves toward the warm or the red. And that's what they look like. It's exactly what they look like. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference until they're laid out in a watercolor. This is lapis. That is lapis. That's 80% pure lapis compared to an ultramarine. This is roughly $3,000 a pound. We make this ourselves. This is absolutely gorgeous, my favorite color, and it's $9 a pound. So $1,500 to $1,800, $9. So that's what pure lapis looks at, 80%. You can buy lapis that's very close to this at 90%. Kremer sells it. Kremer's a pigment company out of Germany. and it's $10,000 a pound for that pigment, $10,000 a pound. So it's extremely expensive. Nobody would buy it, especially when you can get the synthetic, which is absolutely breathtaking. And if you want to paint with lapis, this is a good way to paint with lapis. It's a baby blue. Let me show you what those look like on the drawdowns. I showed this to you sometime before, but I always find it extremely interesting. So this is the French. So this one is the ultramarine, and this is the French. Both extremely beautiful colors. Very, very, very beautiful colors. And this is the lapis. This is cobalt. Cobalt compared to lapis. And this is one that was, it's said to be the bluest blue. It probably, in mass tone, it probably is very, very blue. But for us to lay it out in a watercolor, you truly see the pigment. This is the YINMN. It was just made by the University, I believe, of Oregon. And it's roughly $500 a pound for this particular product. Nowhere as intense as an ultramarine. Similar in some ways to the cobalt. Nah, not really. Cobalt. So we're always testing new product. We don't always bring new product out unless it has some type of an advantage for the artist. Either it's a blue and there's another blue, but one is transparent and one is either semi-opaque or opaque. One is granulating, one isn't. It has to be different. We don't want anything that's going to be just the same. Hello, David. And this right here is gum arabic. So gum arabic is a natural product. It comes from the acacia tree, which was originally from Senegal. Now it's in all parts of Asia. And it looks just like powdered sugar. It's very, very fine. It's food grade, medical grade, so it has to meet the same standard over and over. There's no impurities in it. And the neat thing about the gum arabic, it allows our paint to re-wet very, very quickly. And so it's one of our philosophies that always put the artist in charge of the material and not the material in charge of the artist. There's more creativity, more flexibility when it's the artist driving the process versus being within a box that the product sets. So I thought you'd like to see those. I mean, I like to see them. They're pretty interesting. I was having, I let all of you know that, hello, Joy. I was going to put a live stream of the manufacturing process. That's been very, very difficult here in Seattle. I think everywhere in the world. We have a 6-foot bubble that has to be around all the staff all the time. So I can't go in and do live streams and move around people because it would be, I wouldn't be able to have a bubble. It's extremely important. So what I did is I took a series of videos, and those videos are up on Facebook and YouTube. They're very short videos. I'll go in, I go in after hours and I'll start the machines myself, being the only one there. And I'll show some more detailed uses of the machines. on future videos. But I showed you the three-roll mill or the de-aeration mill. Hello, Netherlands. The mixers, the photospectrophotometers, which we use to calibrate for color, the xenon phaedometers. So you'll see some machines. Also put up a video of how lapis is made, from how we process the mineral into pigment all the way to making it into paint. So it's really the whole process. So as you watch those, hello Sandra, and you have questions, I put them on there just one, it's really pretty to watch paint being made. When you look at the Imperial Purple, you'll see that it doesn't start purple the first time through the three-roll mill. It actually takes 4 to 5 times to finally get that vibrant blue Imperial Purple. And it's to get those pigments to mix and to behave properly. And that's what you're seeing in the video. But I did it really more to allow you to see the process and then be able to ask questions. So one question that was asked last time is skin color, how to use paint for skin color. And there's a whole video on using quinacridones for skin color. All you have to do is say Daniel Smith, skin color, quinacridones, and it'll pull up the video. Someone asked about using sticks, and there's probably, I did a quick count, and there was at least 39 videos that show how different artists all over the world use the sticks. If that's of interest to you, it's pretty interesting. I thought those were very interesting. We were also asked by artists, would we put up the characteristics of the paints? And while we have those on the color chart, we just put up, and I can tell you where it's at. If you don't know, leave me a message and I'll post the hyperlink in response back to you. But it is at danielsmith.com, and then you go to product information and then brochures, and there's a downloadable spreadsheet that has all the characteristics of the paint. So it'll have how it's available, it'll have its name in 5 different languages, staining, opacity, light fastness, and you can sort it any way you want. So you can see all the ones that are light fast, all the ones that are granulating, and what I'll end up doing is it also includes chroma. So there's a column way over to the right that has chroma. If it doesn't have it, I'll put it on there because I have one that does have it. And you can actually sort by chroma, if you will, and that will put the reds with the reds, the yellows with the yellows, for example. But I think you can play a lot with that if you want to. Layla has a question about rose madder. So we used to have rose madder. Rose madder is made from a dye. It has what's called a laked process. And what that means is they take a dye, it's the rose madder root, they boil the root, you get the rose madder dye, you take the rose madder dye from the root, you put that over a metal halide and lock it in place, and that's called a laked pigment. And that's why it's then a pigment. However, anything which is laked is by definition going to be fugitive, and rose madder is fugitive and has a half-life of probably, or a life of probably about 20 years. We have rose madder permanent now, and we no longer offer the rose madder. One, it's very difficult to get a uniform product anymore with the rose madder root. There's other competitors I'm sure you know about that when you use it, it changes entirely from batch to batch. It's very difficult to work with that particular dye. Yeah, we're trying to get the old sorter back. There is one, same area, that you can say sort by granulation, sort by staining, etc., and it will do that. But we're trying to come up with easier and easier tools. So Frida asks about how many duochromes do you have in oils, and we have 2 pearlescent This is in the original. 2 pearlescent. We have 2 metallic. We have 2 iridescent, Frida. And we have 2 duochrome. And that's in a lineup of 112 colors. Those are the traditional oils, which I'm going to be showing you today. So thank you for that beautiful segue. Thank you. Okay, so why don't we go over some of the oils? You know, we've made oils. We made oils before we made watercolors. We initially came out and started with inks. Dan Smith was a printmaker. That was his love. And he developed his own line of inks. We made litho inks, relief inks, and etching inks. Then we went into oils, and we made original oils, traditional linseed oils. About 12 or 13 years after that, we went into water soluble. Then we went into watercolor, followed by acrylics. And now our lineup is traditional oil, water soluble oil, and watercolors. Rose Madder Permanent is a permanent color, and that's because it's made with high performance pigments that look at the same hue as the rose madder, but they're made from high performance permanent pigments. So very permanent. They should both, so Julia, they should both dissolve very, very well together. I would have to look, so I will get back to you on that. What is the main characteristic of a Primatech? Well, Primatech means primitive technology. And the reason that we came up with the Primatech is it's from ancient times. A beautiful pedigree of artists that have lived throughout the ages. Humans want to express themselves. Every continent in the world has people that have used materials to express what was going on around them. Dan and I both love the Plains Indians. Dan lives in South Dakota. And I also love the Inuits, the Alaskan, who did totem poles, etc. The ancient people would find siennas, ochres, other materials in the riverbeds, etc., or around where they were living. They would mash those up, put those into a animal fat, and they would wear it as either war paint or put it on their ponies or use it to do totem poles. Humans and ponies don't last forever. However, totem poles have been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And it's just a very interesting way we thought of allowing current artists to use materials that we make from the minerals that all have a very high standard, but to do and get the same results that other ancient times were able to get. So, and the beautiful granulation. You're really touching back to nature. They're not synthetic. Synthetic colors are very, very beautiful. The pyrroles, the parallenes, the quinacridones, they're gorgeous colors. They're perfect in every way. But sometimes it's nice to play with that imperfection and have its own energy, and to play with that energy in coming up with your artwork. And that was the whole impetus behind the Primatech. So Joy, we moved away from cadmiums about 5 or 6 years ago. So our cadmiums, if you look at them, are cadmium U's. And what that means is they're not cadmiums. They're made from high performance pigments. They give the same brightness, the same opacity, but they don't have the downsides of cadmiums. We no longer use cadmiums. In Europe, probably every year or so, it goes through whether they're going to be banned or not banned, and they're always, for the most part, given another year of reprieve. About 5 or 6 years ago, I just said enough's enough. I don't want my people around them. I don't want artists around them, so I just stopped making them. So ours are very, very safe to use. is color patented, like the blackest stuff? Yes, this is Jennifer. Are colors patented? They certainly are. One of the big one is the quinacridone. People say, well, why can't you buy the quinacridone gold? And as you know from prior discussions, there are 3 quinacridone golds. There's let's just say for sake of argument, a high, a medium, and a low. And we use the medium, and that's the one that was production had stopped on. Ciba Geigy owned that. It was bought by BASF. BASF is they were both billion-dollar companies. BASF is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they have patented just about every way you can move that structure is patented. So even if you wanted to, and many companies can make it, but they're not going to make it because it's patented. So it's almost like drug companies. Many pharmaceutical companies can make a drug another company has made, but they're patented, and that would be a huge no-no. So I was talking with an artist from Sweden, and she had showed me a painting that she did with Cascade Green. And she had painted a landscape with Cascade Green, and she wasn't really too excited about the Cascade Green, she told me. And she went out to get a cup of coffee and came back in about 20 minutes, and she said it was like elves or somebody came in and redid my painting. And she showed me that there were now blues and greens and yellows. And she said that was all from just Cascade Green. And that's because the Cascade Green is a co-precipitated pigment, and given time, it comes apart and you get all those subtle shades. So it's a really nice one to play around with. So Grace, I love the turquoise color from your profile picture. Do you know what Daniel Smith's paint for such color? So the ones that we use in Daniel Smith, we have two Primatech turquoise. One is from the Sleeping Beauty mine in Arizona, that's called Sleeping Beauty, and one is from the Kingman mine in Arizona, and that's called Kingman. 2 different localities in Arizona, 2 minerals that are around the different turquoise. So one is more green, the Kingman, one is more blue, the Sleeping Beauty. So rhodonite shouldn't lose its color. So I'd have to look at is it natural drying? I need to know if it's natural drying or if it's a hair dryer. If it's a hair dryer, you can change the value of the nature of the gum arabic. You can actually burn the gum arabic, which would be kind of brownish. You don't want to burn the gum arabic. I think a couple of artists were saying that in past messages. Valentina, quinacridone just means 5 ring structure. It's a series of 5 rings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's how those rings move around each other and the alpha and beta particles and where they are in relation to that ring structure that gives the different colors. Hello, Anders. Yep, Scott, that's correct. It means 5 rings. So I know there's a lot of literature on the zinc. Let me get back to you further on that, John. Let me think about that. Yeah, Cascade Green is a very, very, very interesting color. Cascade green, I guess. So Rajat, I would try the Cascade green by itself, and then of course you can add any other color that you want to bring out whatever aspect you're trying to get to. But the Cascade green will actually come apart in the presence of water, and you know how much water you're using and how much paint you're using. Amethyst is a very pretty color. It's a very, very, very pretty color. Yeah, the What Color Wednesday is very good, Joy. And what we're doing now is also going to post in a very easy way that you can see all the colors and their information. So you'll not only see what color is for the What Color Wednesday, but for all the other colors, you'll see all the characteristics of those colors. Again, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to use. You know, we don't just do the new colors for Creative World, although it's a great place to launch a color because we have our distributors and retailers from all over the world. Even the U.S. now makes it to Color World. It's when we have a reasonable number. There's many times I have one or two, but now it's a lot of brick and mortar stores have to change out displays of 77 to 260 colors if you add a color, and I don't want them to get annoyed at me. So we have probably probably four that we've tested that we haven't brought out, but at some point we will bring out. Thank you, Kristen. Empty tins. So, Sandra, do you mean tubes or do you mean the actual tins that the inks used to come in? We're not selling the inks anymore, so we don't have the tins anymore. And the aluminum tubes are very difficult to ship because they're so fragile, and they would just bend and they wouldn't arrive well. They're just very difficult to ship. Well, thank you, Wendy. I'm glad you're enjoying. Yes, we're trying to do the Instagram right now with color, so thank you. That's a really, really good idea. You could mix lapis with other things. It'll mix with other colors. That's really kind of for you as the artist. Yeah, the colors for are pH neutral, so you can try those. If you're having questions, Paula, just send me a message. The test team is picked by the marketing department, so they're going to read through these as well. Oh, I see what you're saying. So the metal palettes. Right now, we're not selling the metal palettes, although there's a 24 half pan set that if you buy the 24 half pan set, there's a free 24 half pan set. But we don't sell those because we stand behind our retailers and brick and mortar stores who are selling the palettes. KDS out of India does a great job of that. DS Anna had acrylics. We no longer have acrylics. I'm focusing on the watercolors and the oils. Yeah, so more about the Watercolor Grounds. The Watercolor Grounds it's an acrylic polymer. It's water immiscible to an extent, and what it's supposed to do is act as a watercolor surface. So it's a surface material. And you can put it on anything. You can put it on wood, aluminum, metal, glass, plexiglass, and you wait 24 hours for it to cure. And now that, whatever you painted it on, becomes a paintable surface. If you like, you can use a foam brush and have it be very smooth, or you can use a brush and make it be very rough. So you can match what it is you want to create. The other thing that artists have used it for is a way to correct art pieces. So it's kind of like whiteout for the artist. You can put it over an area that you've had issues with and then repaint it. So Julie Carlson is an artist that's part of In the Artist Studio. And I don't know if Julie's is posted yet, but when she does it, she is like the expert of ground. She answers that question to some extent, and if then you wanted to send her a message, I'm sure she would answer it for you. She's phenomenal when it comes to that. Yeah, the Mineral Marvels is very, very interesting. If I could choose one turquoise, you know, the one that I kind of like, and I like it as a mineral, I have a lot of minerals, would be the Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is very difficult to get anymore because the mine flooded. Once you go past the water table, this is the water table. Once you go past the water table, then water goes into the mine, and it's almost impossible to fight Mother Nature. So they close the mine usually when that happens. And so the Sleeping Beauty mine has been closed. But I bought a lot of the Sleeping Beauty mineral. It's actually quite beautiful. It's probably my favorite. Thank you, Trina. I'm glad that the artists in India love the 24 palettes. They're beautiful colors. The transparent ground is pretty cool. The transparent ground is really interesting. We had a lot of moms that would say, I'd like to paint over a book. My child doesn't quite know how to read yet, but I want them to see the words, and I will do a picture of what the words mean. So you kind of get both sides of that our brain working. They can see what the mom has shown them in, this is what the words are talking about, so here's the image, but they can still see the words underneath. So if it's a year later, 2 years later, you can still read through it, which is, I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah, John, my mineralogist goes all over the world, but where we buy the minerals is we have the miners bring them to Arizona, to Tucson. That way they come in through customs. They're all verified. There's a whole pedigree of where they came from, how they came from, etc. And it's a great place. It's one of 3 places that he goes to meet with artists or to meet with miners that he's met in different parts of the world. And you know, it's the miners in different parts of the world are very they're like artists. They're wonderful people, but not all parts of the world are safe. And I don't want my geologist to. He travels by himself. I don't want him to be out there by himself. So he just makes contact, verbal. There's no transactions. Only in the U.S. the transaction is done. Yeah, the 5 mils, there's only about 90 colors in 5 mils. The majority of colors are in the 15 mils. Yeah, there's a couple of artists that use the transparent, not the transparent, the titanium white for doing corrections. The other one there's multiple colors. There's black, there's transparent, there's gold, titanium white, and buff titanium. The gold is actually beautiful. It's very iridescent. It's just a beautiful, beautiful substrate. Some people that were doing icons use it for icon painting. It's obviously not the same, anywhere near the same quality as we're using real leaf gold, but it's quite gorgeous. Hello, Pablo. Yeah, it's been difficult in the marketplace to be able to assure that our paint is getting out into the world. Um, many we have thousands and thousands of stores that have it, but all stores, including my own store, has been closed. So it's really been the internet, and there's been a real run on the internet. Thank God we have the internet. You know, the Kingman and the Sleeping Beauty are just so different, Grace. I mean, they're just different. Um, you might want to have get a 238 dot card and play with that, or they're also, I believe they're both. Are they both on the 66? Yeah. The Sleeping Beauty and the Kingman. I'll check to see if they're on the 66 dot card, because that's another option that you can do. I'll get back to you in just a moment. So red ochre is a natural, and it would have the characteristic of the area that it's from, just like a turquoise. So an ochre or a sienna that's a natural product can change in 10 miles, 5 miles, 500 miles. It's going to be what elements are around it and actually make it into that particular mineral. That's going to give it its different color characteristic. Yeah, Dick Blick does a great job in maintaining product. So to answer the question, yes, both the Kingman and the Sleeping Beauty are in the 66 dot card. It has a lower price point than the 238. So if you wanted to try out the Primitex, there's quite a few of them, quite a few of the iridescent, and quite a few of the quinacridone in that particular card. Yeah, not all of the stores carry all of the grounds, and I think different stores try to meet what customers are asking for. The grounds are really kind of a neat way to play. We just had somebody put it on 10. So it's really it's at what you can think of you do, and then you can actually put a UV protector or a protector sealant over it. It's always going to be watercolor, however, so there's always a chance that it can run. Yeah, the Lunar Earths are so the Lunar Earths are a mixture of more than one pigment. And you get granulation when you have differential specific gravity, when something weighs more than something else. And usually what happens is the heavy one runs down, the lighter one stays up on top, and that gives you granulation. The lunar black, which is a single pigment, does it because the particles are so small, and they repel each other. And so that's why you get the granulation in the lunar. Rule of thumb is that you can get granulation when you have more than one pigment, not always, but it's more apt to happen. So lunar black is definitely an exception because it's a single pigment with all the particles being just about exactly the same. Subtle purple sheet of purpurite. Yes. So it's manganese. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. The purpurite. It's a beautiful mineral. So duochromes, the luminescent series has luminescent colors have been within the paint industry for a long time, and what we're always trying to do is think what could an artist use a color for. We believe that artists want to play. There's that huge creative side that wants to be expressed. And so what we want to do is bring things out that allow that to be expressed. Yeah, in some parts of the world, the dot card is limited. I'm always sorry to hear that because it's a phenomenal way for artists to be able to test the colors. You can also do it with friends. It just takes, touch of a tube to create a dot. So if you each have 12 colors, and there's 4 of you, you can have 48 in a matter of seconds. Yeah, the shadow violet is really neat, Patty. So the shadow violet is very similar to the moon glow. It's actually the sister. So it has ultramarine, viridian, and pyrrole orange. So it gives it that more orange shift. Whereas the Moonglow has the viridian, the ultramarine, and the anthracenoid red. So it has a red shift. So very, very close to each other. And fantastic granulation. Yeah, the Lunar Black is it's a beautiful, beautiful pigment and paint. And as I showed last week or the week before, if you put a color, so you put Hansa, either the Lunar Black on top of Hansa or Hansa on top of the Lunar Black, you'll see in about 30 minutes, the Lunar Black will move away from the yellow and you'll see yellow. Whereas if you took a more opaque, like a lamp or an ivory, you'll just hide the yellow. It's kind of fun to actually play with that pigment. Yeah, we can't sell anything through Amazon. It's one of the it's kind of one of the agreements that we have with our distributors and our retailers, in that we will fully support them. So in some ways, you know, it affects us a little bit because not everybody has all the colors, not everybody has all the dot cards. Simultaneously, the retailers and distributors have been absolutely wonderful to us, and so we do everything possible to support them. And one is that we will not sell to an end customer, because that doesn't support the stores and the distributors who have been absolutely wonderful to us. It's a quandary. Oh, I've never seen that, Lunar Black and Lunar Red. I may play with that. Yeah, it's really, I think using the watercolors is all about playing. I think art really is, hello Raul, is about playing. It's I do the same thing with photography. There's times I really want to look at how something is laid out, and I may take 3 hours to do one branch. And there's times I just go out for the gusto and I just take pictures just for the love of taking pictures. Yes, Art Miranda does a phenomenal a phenomenal job in Spain, getting Daniel Smith and Daniel Smith materials out through Spain and areas near Spain. So very good. Let me show you some of the, a couple of oils anyway, since you've asked about them. Again, we have two types of oil. We have, this is Cad Yellow water soluble. And this is Hansa Yellow Traditional. They're both in 37 ml tubes. It's the same linseed oil, but the water soluble has been modified to be water miscible, so it can be cleaned in water. The interesting thing is there's 112 colors in the traditional. There's 45 in the water soluble. There's also 4 mediums for the traditional, and there's 6 mediums for the water soluble. Someone asked the other day, can I make my water soluble dry faster? And yes, you can make it dry much faster by using the fast drying medium. So something which would normally take 3 to 10 days would take 2 to 8 days to be able to dry. It was made for the schools and universities because the schools and universities wanted to move away from solvents. And also one of the things that they need as well is they needed something which would dry quickly, so the professor could help the students and actually see an end product faster. And so this is hematite, burnt tiger's eye, Sedona, and Minnesota pipestone. And what we do is we have it in mass tone. We have it with 50% titanium white, so you can see the strength. So 50-50. And then this is just with alkoid, with an alkyd, so you can see the undertone. because many oil colors want to see what the undertone looks like to do glazing, etc. This is an example of the blues. Again, mass tone, 50% titanium white, and then with alkyd. And then kind of the neat ones, we do have the duochromes, etc. in the oils. So duochromes, metallics, etc. And here is more iridescence and metallics. So a lot of things that you can do with watercolors we also have in oils. So if you ever wanted to try oils, water-soluble oils are very interesting to try. Yeah, they're actually quite beautiful. When I started at Daniel Smith, I started I have 3 degrees, and one of my degrees was in botany, physiology, so chemistry. My second degree was in computer science I'm 60 years old, so back when I did it, it was still part of electrical engineering. And when I started with Daniel Smith, I started in the computer IS area. And Dan sent me to all the different departments because we were going to be doing a computer upgrade. And he wanted me to see how each department could use and would need to use the new computer system. And I spent about 2 months in manufacturing, and it was during the summer. And the one thing I can remember to this day was the fantastic smell of the linseed oil because of the hot summer days. It's just, I love that smell. And I would hear the machinery making all the clinking and clonking sounds, and I said, oh, I love this company. It so speaks to me. And I became CEO 4 years after that, and 20% owner. And then about 10 years after that, I bought the company. It's a phenomenal company. Started by a very, very good man, Dan, who still an extremely good friend that I call several times a year. So it's quite beautiful. No, the masking fluid is actually, so that's interesting, Shishima. I've tried the masking fluid. We sell a lot of masking fluid. It's actually pretty easy to remove. It depends on, we put it on newspaper just to see, because that's so very thin, and you can remove it off of newspaper. So you probably have to tell me more about that issue. Maybe write it to me and send it to me. You can change the characteristic if you heat gun it, but we haven't had issues with the masking fluid. The masking fluid comes with 5 applicators that you can cut to different sizes to give you different flows. It acts on a capillary action, which means once the material touches the paper and starts drawing the material out, it just then pulls the rest of the material from the applicator. So you can do very, very fine lines or very, very thick lines. I love manufacturing. I love to travel. I'm really, this has been great because I get to talk to you. I don't get to see you. I do when I answer your questions, because if you have a photograph, your photograph pops up, which is very nice. I love traveling. I travel with Catherine, the president of JJCI, and we go all over the world, and we're able to meet with artists and share ideas and to grow friendships. So we like to just play a game when we're traveling, and it's kind of like spinning the globe, and we touch a place and we say, who are our friends there? Because it's just amazing how you build friends all over the world. Rajat from India, Tarun from India, Raul from India, they're all friends. And it's just very nice. I'm passionate about that. I love to travel. I would say culture above the traveling, and then friendship above that. So I really miss that greatly. Thank you, Sandra. Yes, it's nice meeting all of you in Fabriano. I really miss Fabriano this year. This year we're actually going to go to Urbino and then go to Fabriano. So actually do 2 of the 3 shows, and then the virus outbreak. It was so interesting to be in Germany and the virus before it was even called, before there was even a name. There was, I think, like 10. They said, well, there's 10 incidents, and to see what it is now is just mind-boggling. Yes, I look forward to be back into India. I think you have a beautiful country. Last time I was there, we went to Delhi and Pune, which were beautiful places. Beautiful places to visit. We go to the UK probably 14 times a year. It's one of our major landing places because many times we take British Airways. Beautiful place to travel. Lots of friends there. Gene Haynes is there. Just lots of friends in the UK. Love going there. Very, very hospitable. Very, very friendly series of countries. Oh yeah, Patchings. Patchings has been great. No, we never thought about producing easels. There's people out there that actually make phenomenal easels, just absolutely gorgeous easels. So not something that we thought of. We're really more of a pigment house, and from the pigment we make paint. It's always been our passion, always been our drive. So I would love it if you would ask me questions either here or just send them to me. I'm doing 2 presentations a week, and I want to make sure that you're getting out of it all that I can give you. So please ask questions. I love them. If it's something I've answered before, what I'll do is I'll just answer it again to you. If it's something I said, wow, this is something a lot of people want to know about, I'll give your name and also your question and what the answer is. So I want to see all the colors in India. Yeah, India has a lot of colors, and Tarun at KDS has them all. You're very welcome. So my manufacturing team, if it wasn't right now with the COVID, I would be seeing my team every single day. Now, I once a week, and then I use Zoom to talk to my chemists more than once a week. So we can do video. It's just, you don't want anybody to get sick. So to try to keep as minimal contact, but we have great interactions between inbox, between Zoom, etc. Yeah, we'll look about what we do and how we do Instagram. Thank you all for staying, for coming on and answering questions or asking questions. It's really, really quite great. Yeah, the Sedona is actually made by the Sedona. My father was in Cottonwood, and I used to go visit him just about every other week. And it reminded me of it's in Red Rock country, Sedona, so it's kind of Red Rock. And then the Yavapai is the Grand Canyon. So if you want to paint with the Grand Canyon, it's the Yavapai. If you want to paint with Red Rock country, it's the Sedona. But if you've been to Arizona, especially northern Arizona, you've seen both because it's everywhere. I think the marketing department is working with different sets, so there'll probably be more sets out, and that'll be good because it'll give you more ability for variety. You know, Patrice right now is, I haven't seen her, but I know that I haven't seen her yet because the store is still closed. Thank you, Annie. I appreciate that. Or Amy. It's hard seeing this little tiny screen. Goodbye, Sandra. What about shipping? Do you have any idea when you'll be resupplying your internet supporters? So the distribution channel, the internet provider should have product. The distributors are sending product to them, so they should have product. So that should be, I think somebody said Dick Blick right now has full inventory of everything. So they should have inventory. The distribution centers have been really good about requesting product. Well, I wanted to thank all of you for being with me today. Please ask your questions. I love the questions, and I will get back to you. It can be offline as well. If you don't want me to use your name, just say, please don't use my name, and I won't. Otherwise, I'll probably just use your first name, and this is the question, and this is the answer. I wish you all health and safety, and hope you're getting out to see the beautiful days of summer while maintaining a 6-foot bubble, so you're safe. So thank you all very much. Be safe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.